Welcome everybody back to Meet Us Munich. I'm super happy to bring you a very special episode with the Leadership Talent Academy and Simone. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk about the LTA. That's really nice.
Nice, perfect. So maybe you can introduce yourself shortly for anybody who may not know you. What do you do at the LTA? What is it all about?
Yeah, sure. I'm leading the LTA, the Leadership Talent Academy. So I'm involved, like I'm a trainer, I'm a coach. I was part of the creation process with my colleagues. And yeah, I'm also coordinating the collaboration with the Karl Schlecht Foundation. Or I will probably also talk a little bit later about that.
Awesome, perfect. So for somebody who doesn't come out of the Unternehmertum bubble, maybe, and if you've never heard about the LTA, what would you say is kind of the overall vision or goal of the program?
So the LTA is like a leadership program, like which is set for 4 months roughly, and it's for 25 participants. And the goal, I would say, is really like gaining inner clarity and stability when it comes to leadership. So it's really intended for young leaders who are taking their first leadership steps. And, obviously there are a lot of challenges ahead, a lot of also insecurities and so on. And this is really a program helping these young leaders to get aware of themselves, get even better with self-leadership, because we think this is really the basis you need in order to be able to really lead other people there.
Awesome. I think that's a very interesting proposition, the kind of self-leadership, also especially if you're kind of a founder and also if you're leading by example. I think that's a very interesting place to start for sure. So you said a little bit that you cooperate with the Karl Schlecht Foundation. So what does that mean? Like, how does the cooperation look like, or in what way is the candidate involved in that?
So the candidate itself, him or herself, is not directly involved with that. Only the fact that they are like giving the whole money to them. So this is really like for free for people who are applying and who are being taken, because it's paid by the Karl Schlecht Stiftung. And the reason why they're doing that, because the Karl Schlecht Stiftung, Karl Schlecht Foundation, their goal is really to spread good leadership. So they are really interested in like supporting programs which help people, among others, to really develop good leadership, meaning value-based leadership. And this is really, I think, where we have a good cooperation together for several years already with other programs. And yeah.
A little bit out of script, but as for somebody who doesn't know, what would you say is good or value-based leadership? What does that mean?
That's a good question. It's really, I think value-based leadership is once for all like getting aware of your own values and really being led by them. Because obviously, like in a leadership position, very often you need to make decisions, and very often decisions have also so-called trade-offs, like either you go left or you go right. And this really helps you to get clear of what really matters to you. That means also what comes together with that is also responsibility, so social responsibility, environmental responsibility, and so on. So this is really, getting aware, to put it into cheesy words, I would say, to get aware of the greater good and stand for that. Yes.
Very interesting. So that could be a whole episode, I think, just on value-based leadership, because that's a very interesting one. Awesome. So I think there are like different leadership programs maybe out there. So I think what would you say makes the LTA unique?
What makes the LTA unique, I think, is really one of, I think the big advantages is really the people coming there. So the people you're meeting there, they're all like, because we really pay a lot of attention of like, I would say like creating this batch. So one batch are 25 people. And we really want to make sure that we have diversity in there, that we have like different mindsets, different backgrounds, and so on. I think this is really a great opportunity to exchange with them, and also to bond with them in a way, because somehow all have very similar challenges, but it's interesting to also hear how other people are coping with that and so on. So this is, I think, one very big advantage of the LTA. It's also, we have, so obviously we are having these on-site workshops, and what really matters to us that we're not doing a lot of like frontal teaching or stuff like that. It's really what matters to us that we create experiences, because we think, like frontal stuff you can like get on different channels and so on online. We really want to make sure that participants are really put into the positions, are really experiencing, can then reflect, because we think this is the way how you really learn and how you really grow also in the end.
Yeah, I think also like it probably is more ingrained in kind of what you remember when you're actively participating, right? Because I think then you're shaping it and you're creating it, and that creates more kind of, yeah, connections than if you're just listening. I feel like you're like, okay, what did I listen to? So yes, I
Exactly.
think
So
that's
you really don't want to have too much of this theoretical stuff. It's really about like practicing, having your experiences, and then, as you say, I think they also stick.
nice. So if you had to describe it in 3 words, what would the 3 words be for the LTA?
In 3 words, I think it's intense, definitely. I think it's eye-opening. It's also what I heard a lot about the feedback from former participants, and I think it's empowering because it really gives you clarity and inner stability to do your work.
So intense in kind of the how deep you go, how many hours, what would you say? How does it mean intense?
So talking about, yeah, about how much effort do you need to put into that. But I think it's really intense in terms of how deep it goes. So these workshops are on site. We're having 7 workshop days, so namely 5 modules. I think we will talk about the content a little bit later. But these workshops are really like on site, and yes, it can be very intense. So we don't want, so it's not the whole time about how to say that. Um, we really want to spark reflection there. So it could be that like after a workshop day, you think like, wow, I wasn't aware of this and that, and I need to get clear on that. But I also want to say that for that purpose, we also have individual coaching, which is offered. So we always have like a place where you can reflect on that, where you can grow on that topic, where you can discuss it with somebody. So we don't leave anybody alone with that. But yes, the workshops for sure, they are intense. Yeah.
Awesome, cool. So we're going to dive into all of that. So let's talk a little bit about the modules actually. So I saw that there are different ones. So get centered, get connected, get shifted, dive deep, and take action. And sounds very interesting from the topic of it. Maybe you can provide a little bit more context on what can you expect of the modules, and yeah, just kind of how does it make sense?
Sure. So the first module, I have to say this is one of my favorites, but they're all I all like them in a way. So the first module is really like getting centered. It's really about getting aware of yourself. So we're like looking at like what are your values, what are your strengths, but also what are your drivers. Um, you will also be able to start with a little prototype of your leadership purpose statement, which is like something like your compass needle, I would put it. It's like a prototype because we will work continuously on that during the LTA. So there's really a little prototype. So it's really like first of all, getting aware of yourself. This is number 1. Number 2, so get connected is really about creating the space of how to put it, like to deal with other people. Everybody says, well, we need to have a diverse team and so on. We said, well, you know what, this is not always so easy. I think everybody who has already worked with other people knows, well, when people set priorities in a different way or have different preferences when working, this can be quite challenging. And for that purpose, we created also module 2. So you can create this space also for yourself to work with other people, and which really builds the basis for inclusive leadership, which we want to have to make sure, well, everybody is heard, everybody is valued in a way, and the team can come to decisions on their own and so on. So this is really number 2. And like all the modules, you always also learn tools which you can apply directly to your team. So but yeah. Number 3 is get shifted. Is really like how do you actually build then these good working relationships? So I think a lot of people have already heard about psychological safety. This will be a huge topic. And number 3 was really like how you as a leader build the frame that people really talk about the challenges ahead and not spend so much energy on looking good, looking competent, and so on, but really make sure they talk their mind, because this is so important when you're working in an environment where there are not so many repetitive tasks, but where you basically innovate in a way every day, need to make new decisions, or operating in fields where like the circumstances are changing a lot. And also what you will also learn there is like how you can also have difficult conversations, which you need to have. How can you cope with conflict? How can you solve them in a good way? Conflict is important. It's it's very difficult if you don't cope with that as a leader because there's a lot of locked energy in there, which is good. And so this is really number 3. Number 4 is also again one of my favorite modules. I have to admit, it's again about yourself. It's about resilience. So this is also a beautiful outdoor workshop where we will be at the Isar the whole day. We will use the nature and so on to get even into a deeper reflection. And what is this module about? It's really about getting a good connection to yourself, meaning like how do you cope with stress? Do you know your stress signs? What strategies do you have? How can you untap resilience, like getting aware of the 7 keys of resilience? And also like how can you bring this knowledge also into your team? How can you improve the resilience in your team? Because obviously times are not always smooth. They might be sometimes pretty tough, but how do you actually as a leader bring up the energy level again when things are really rough, and make sure that you do that in a sustainable way? And number 5, so the last module, take action. For sure, it's also like a huge reflection where you then really can filter out your essence of the LTAs, because we think this is important, that because in the end, really like who's taking out all the sheets, everybody says, well, we'll do this afterwards and so on. But I think it's really always good to have maybe like 2 pages where you put the essence for yourself out of it. And we will also talk about the topics of authenticity and of power, because we realize that a lot of young leaders are a little bit, how can I say it, don't feel so comfortable with like getting aware that when they are in a leadership position, they obviously also are in a powerful position. And we want to make sure that the participants get aware of that, and that they start to also get aware of what they need to use this power in a way where they feel very confident about that, but where they can also make sure that they're staying true to themselves and their values. So also like, because you think like the worst thing is like not talking about power, because then I think misuse of that is very, very likely to happen, but we want to bring it to the conscious level. So this is then a little bit rounding up this LTA journey.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah, I learned so many many things right there listening to you. So I think like it seems very well rounded. I love the different facets. First of like with the inclusive leadership, I think that is something which I really realized also that I mean there are like all these studies about bias and you gravitate to this similar people like similarity bias and all that. And it's just because sometimes it's easier, you know, you don't have to explain as much about how you think, if you think the same way or if you've got the same background, but that doesn't mean it's a better choice. So I think that's super interesting, and also the nature aspect and actually the power one as well, because I think power has a very negative connotation, but it's still just not acknowledging it. It doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it go away
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
And it's a question for what you use it, right? I mean, it doesn't have to mean that you abuse it. So I think it's a very interesting one.
Mhm.
Cool. Awesome. So I think that gives people then a little bit of an overview. So that is all on site, right? So I think people can already mark their calendars for them to be there. Yeah.
Exactly. That's all on site. Yeah. So 5 modules, they are all on site. And it's important that like participants really participate at every module because they're building on each other.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So I read that there's also this opportunity to do something with the Akademie Führung und
Mhm.
Persönlichkeit. I don't think for everybody, but maybe you can just kind of explain what is that
Mhm.
offering about here.
So maybe first about this, not for everybody. So we always have 12 spaces available for each batch. And as you can see, 25 people are in one batch. You need to apply again for that. So what is it you could apply for? So the Akademie is really an opportunity to dive even deeper. So this is really like, I think, 5 days in Schloss Elmau, where you have the opportunity to really dive deep within yourself. So you also don't have, you can like hand in your mobile phones and so on, you know, like you need to imagine, because very often I think leaders are always in a rush. There are always something, you know, they need to take care of, need to be available and so on. This is really 5 days going deep. They will learn meditation techniques, techniques to really connect with themselves and gain even a deeper inner clarity. So I think this is also one of the things a lot of former participants said that they also really profited a lot from that. Yeah. So it's
Cool.
done together with the Akademie für Führung und Persönlichkeit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrific. Awesome. So we talked a little bit about kind of that you need to be there. What kind of time commitment should that normally entail, like apart from the sessions where you need to be there?
Sure. So like we did this offer in a way that you can go deeper, deeper, deeper. So it really like also depends how much you want to put into that. What you definitely have like need to have in terms of time investment is I would say roughly 16 hours to 20 hours per month, meaning because usually we have 1 to 2 workshops per month. If you say like 5 modules, 4-month program, and then you always have a small preparation work as well to do. This could be like do this test, watch this TED talk, read this article. So this is, I would always say, like also super interesting stuff. So nobody ever said that this feels like a burden. It's more like, oh wow, this is really nice food for thought. And for sure, you also have your coaching sessions. So 3 sessions. Each session is like about 60 to 90 minutes. This really depends on the coach who says like how long the sessions are, but normally they're 90 minutes. And we also have expert impulses and these are online. These are like also 2 hours. So all in all, I think you could calculate with 16 to 20 hours per month. We also have a buddy system, which we think is like good because I think what is really, as I said, super valuable is like to also get insights from the other participants. So there's really also a possibility to do exercises again. Sometimes also give you a little bit of homework. Like it's optional here, but I would really say use it because you really profit so much more when you're well prepared.
All right, perfect. So that sounds really good. So then I think we've got a good understanding of kind of what the LTA is all about. Let's go a little bit into admissions and kind of what type of person you're looking for. So when I read through the website, it was saying that you target mostly founders, PhD students, and corporate innovators. So my question is, because this is kind of a bit broader, what would you say are characteristics which most LTA participants have in common?
So this is a tricky one because as I told you at the beginning, like we want to have a diverse group, but what is really like at the super baseline is that everybody is leading people because this really matters. We don't want to make like theoretical stuff. We want you to use the things you learn, the tools, and really apply it. So everybody is in a leadership position already, also not preparing for one, but is in one. This is important. Usually people are also working in a field where there are not so much like repetitive things which like stay the same, but which are, you know, like where circumstances are changing a lot, which might be very innovative and so on. So this is, I think this is also something they share in common. Usually we don't have like a set age frame or something, but since it is for the first leadership steps for young leaders, I would say like the age range is between 25 and 35. I'd say that. And really background wise, as I told you, we really want to make sure we have very different opinions there. So this is not that I said, well, it's like the tech startup person or something like that. No, we also had like a doctor inside. We also like very, very diverse, like different backgrounds where you probably would usually maybe in your daily business not get in touch with possibly.
That's so cool, I think, because then you also contribute to kind of exchanging these bubbles and just kind of, yeah, just thinking beyond that and widening that. So I think that's really nice. Nice to hear. So in terms of the application, so there's kind of this digital selection phase and the written stage, so what I could kind of look into. So I think for maybe somebody who doesn't know anybody at the LTA, what can people expect? Do you have any application tips for people who are interested in applying?
So the first thing is like the written application. It's like online. It's really filling out a questionnaire where we also ask questions. When we then like get in touch with you and invite you to the next stage, you will be invited to the digital selection day. Like selection, I think it's wrong a little bit. It's more like getting to know each other. It's like roughly 5 hours. We will have like roughly like 10 participants in one I would say session. And this is really, it's not meant to be like something like an assessment center, so where we put pressure and you need to prepare for these and these tasks. It's really meant that we get to know you and you get to know us. So come with your questions, come with your doubts, let them all out, talk with us. You'll also need to fulfill a task there. I won't say anything further there because you cannot prepare anyway. So just be yourself, be authentic, and yeah.
All right, perfect. So thank you so much for providing this overview on the LTA. I'm sure everybody can reach out to people at the LTA if they have any further inquiries or something. So maybe as a last question, anything you want to share with the audience, some last words on the LTA?
Some last words on the LTA. I think it's really a great chance. I think really like also what I can read or what I also get feedback from, I think when you feel the call or you're looking for something in terms of leadership, which is preparing you like for times where innovation gets more and more important, where it might be a little bit rough, I think this is really a great program. And it's really also the people afterwards stay in touch, they meet each other, they like help each other. So I think this is really a great community there also. So I can really highly recommend it for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Simone. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Mariana. It was also a pleasure for me to be able to put it all together here with you together.